So, we're gonna start this video. I have honestly been ruminating about it for the last 4 hours or so, and I just want to try to get it done. And yeah, so it's currently May 13th, 2021, and this is a video that I never thought I'd have to make, and probably would not have made had it not gotten this far. I've never done this before, so I am nervous. I'm not as nervous as I once was when I first thought of the idea, and I was like, oh hey, maybe I should make a video about it. And so I'm kind of not quite there right now, but I was pretty angry, and I was pretty anxious and scared and terrified, honestly. If you don't know me, hi, my name is Raquel. I am the creator behind Recovery to Wellness, which is this YouTube channel as well as a WordPress blog. Some facts about me: I'm 27. I went to UMass Boston as my university of choice. I graduated from there in end of 2018 with a Bachelor of Science degree in psychology. I have been working at a place that I call Amaryllis, which is not the real name, and normally every other place and person I've met in my recovery journey has a pseudonym, a different name than that actual person's or place's name, for confidentiality purposes and because I choose to tell my story and I am not exactly in the place to tell other people's story. It's up to them. And so, yeah. I make YouTube videos here. I normally do videos like haul videos, so like stationery hauls, because I love to-do lists and notebooks and journals and art supplies. I also do like time-lapse of me making art or making cards for coworkers or friends. I also do talking videos. I have one that I'm about to edit. I was going to edit today, but I didn't get around to it, about like healthier living and stuff, and trying to kind of explore the journey of gaining weight and all that kind of jazz. I also talk a lot about recovery in general as someone who has lived experiences with mental health conditions. I view recovery from mental health conditions as a more presence of light than darkness, versus mental health conditions to me are more a presence of darkness than light. So I view things like hobbies and things that I enjoy and things I like doing and interests and hobbies besides mental health to be a cornerstone factor of my recovery and my staying and maintaining my wellness and my stability, which is also a big part of why I'm making this video and hopefully talking about some kind of hard topics like homicide and suicide, as well as suicide prevention and mental health conditions. I'll add the trigger warning whenever it's necessary, because I might mention specific details and such, so that if that's triggering to you, please walk away. At those parts that I'm going to mention it, I'll put it in the description. I'll put links and resources and things like that to the best of my ability. I just got a new editing software this past, in the last 2 weeks, so I'm still very new editing that, but I started making videos again on my channel, and I do like dance-offs, even though I fail at dancing all the time, and I also do like fun videos of just like room care and just like little things like that, art stuff, yeah. So that's pretty much what my channel is. Again, I am in recovery from a few different mental health conditions. A little bit about my story is that I was diagnosed by my counseling center at school in fall 2014 when I was 21. And I was diagnosed with obsessive compulsive disorder on self-harm and suicide obsessions, which essentially meant that I would have an intrusive thought or image about hurting myself that I did not want to act on, but that I would take as the thought was like equivalent to action for me. So I would be really freaked out, I'd get really anxious, I would be afraid that I wanted to act on it even though I didn't, and I would go into a lot of reassurance seeking, making sure that I didn't have those intentions, that I was safe, that I was okay. I would call people, I would call hotlines and things like that, and all of that jazz. As the winter break took on, I developed secondary depression, so I became a genuine threat to myself, and I began, 2015 was 3 years of being in and out of hospitalizations. I will say that over the course of 3 years, I was hospitalized psychiatrically 12 times. 11 of those times I initiated it, so I was often always the one telling on myself to get myself help because I needed it. and I was in and out of that, and treatment and therapy and medications and all this kind of stuff, which I go into in various other videos, and if you're interested you can ask me questions, like if I'm uncomfortable I'll let you know, kind of thing. But that's like the fastest rundown that I can give you of my stuff. So it was OCD, depression, borderline personality disorder, self-harm, suicide, like genuine self-harm, suicide, intrusive thought, self-harm, suicide, as well as trichotillomania, which is hair pulling, which I pull from my eyebrows and my eyelashes, which I have videos on, and then dermatillomania, which is skin picking, which I picked at like my scalp, which I haven't done in a while, and my lips and other places like that. So that is like the fastest rundown of like the conditions that I live with. As far as advocacy goes, I want to do a video separately on advocacy and like kind of like help-seeking behaviors and things to that effect. But for right now, what's relevant is I've been a mental health advocate in my real life since about March 2016. So it's been 5 years, and I take that title perhaps more seriously than other people have, and I hold that to a standard. And I've operated, you know, I started my WordPress blog. I have a blog on WordPress, Recovery to Wellness, and I started that in about May, actually, yeah, because today marks 5 years since I've had that blog. So I have been blogging about my mental health experiences. At the end of 2016, I was creating videos about it, and I was off and on. Like, I got more active in the last year, I would say, on YouTube than I ever have in the past. But I was, you know, open about it there. I made a Twitter account, I was open about it there, and sometimes a little too open, I'll be honest, and sometimes it was very triggering, actually, and I'm regretful of that. I don't go back in time to look at what I posted and such, but I know it was problematic and unhealthy and inappropriate. But I have those things, all these things that I do, and I take the role of mental health advocate seriously, and it's frustrating that there are people online, especially, that haven't or don't, and it's upsetting. And I didn't, at least 5 years ago when I started to get into advocacy, which, if you don't know, I work with, my longest standing employment is with NAMI, which is the National Alliance on Mental Illness. I work with the Massachusetts chapter. I am from Massachusetts. I went to UMass Boston, like all of that. I also wrote articles in my university's newspaper where I talked about my mental health and my journey and my recovery and everything to that effect. So I've been doing advocacy work like in that, like even just sharing my story. And advocacy is like not the same thing as activism. Activism is more like making laws and like passing legislation, things like that. Advocacy is more like telling like your story. So this is what I've been through. Using I statements is huge. They teach you in when you go to classes like about advocacy and things like that. Like particularly, I'm a NAMI Inner Own Voice presenter, so I go to different locations. Right now it's on Zoom, but I go to different avenues of audiences. So I've done it at inpatient psych units. I've done presentations for the helpline, like the Samaritan's helpline. Actually, I don't know if I can say that. Oops, already did. But I also do like, you know, I can do ones for like high school, like age kids, or college students, like in college courses, or like police officers are another thing, or like providers, like or general public. There's so much. So what we do in NAMI in Our Own Voice is we talk about our story in 3 main segments. I just did a presentation today, so that's why this is also pretty fresh in my mind. The video is comprised of 3 segments, so it's what happened, what helps, what's next. And then we share our story about our recovery, and then, like, because it's me and another presenter, and then we share our story, and then we ask questions. Like, people can ask questions in the audience about our stories and our recoveries and blah, blah, blah. And we only talk from our own lived experience because we are only an expert in our own lived experience, and that is where we hold our own truth, and we can kind of talk about it. And if we, you know, are ever uncomfortable, we say that we're uncomfortable, whatever. So that's like the quickest rundown that I can give you of that. But I've been doing that, like, that work since, like, 2016. So advocacy in that avenue has been, with NAMI, has been my longest standing employment. And I started doing that on my blog. I started to talk more about my experiences and what I had gone through and all of that. And 2016 was the time that I went about 9 months free from the hospital setting, which was awesome. And then I relapsed, and then everything went to shit. But before that, it was great. I take the role of mental health advocate seriously. And the reason I am making this video is because someone in the past who identified as a mental health advocate at one point in time, but no longer says that he is, has done something that has crossed the boundary for me, and is the reason I'm making this video. So this is honestly breaking every, like, code of law that I've had for myself, because I'm going to mention a particular person, and I'm going to talk about things, and I honestly talk a lot, so I'm trying to cut this down as much as I can. So please bear with me. Honestly, I feel like nobody's gonna really see this video. Maybe other people will, I don't know, that's kind of terrifying, but for right now, this is just kind of, I've been thinking about this for the last 4 hours, I need to get this off my chest. And so, Eric B. Zink, he was a mental health advocate, or he was kind of saying that he was at the time. I found out about him back in 2019, and I actually did a collab with him on YouTube, and I think I commented on one of his videos, and I said that I followed him on Twitter at the time. He was under Driven Industries at the time, with the I being a 1. And I actually reached out to him. We got to talking. I had texted him a few times. Predominantly in 2019, after I texted him once, I just looked through it on my phone, and I texted him once in 2020 and never got anything back. I don't know if he changed his number or what happened exactly. But he used to give out his number on TikTok to followers in case if they were suicidal, they could contact him instead of contacting a helpline, which is problematic in like 50 different ways, but that's not the point of this video. The point of this video is this guy who was claiming to be in recovery from addiction and having lived with his third wife took her own life, and his father took his own life. And so he dealt with, and still deals with, ADHD, like PTSD and depression, and that's as far as I know. But he got into hot water for some grooming allegations, and this happened predominantly last year or so, I think it was last year. And I hadn't really looked at his channel in a while. I had been subscribed to him since probably about 2019 or so on his YouTube channel, and which was Driven Industries at the time. And once I found out about some of the stuff that was going on, the inappropriate contact with minors and inappropriate discussions with minors, things about like if they I could get it. I could give them like him the fact that like he asked if they were showering, which is like it can be like a warning sign, okay. But then he was like, "Does your butt smell?" Like weird things. And he also was making like an OnlyFans, and he was doing a lot of like branching out into more sexual stuff and more like self-pleasure stuff, which isn't like, it was just inappropriate. Anywho, so I watched this video that Creepshow Art did. Her name is Shannon, I believe. And she just made a video, she made a video like last year kind of about it, and I had watched it and I liked it, I subscribed to her, that kind of thing. She just made a video today, or at least uploaded it, where Eric had told her he made a TikTok video, because I guess they had some, she kind of called him out on his stuff, he got upset, that kind of thing. And he said, and I quote from the TikTok in her video, "I did make a mention of a truck and running somebody over if I saw them." So he was essentially saying that he had made a threat to her that if he saw her, he would run her over with his truck. I think you can probably get the idea as to why this is very inappropriate and not something a mental health advocate would do, and not something really anyone should do, and think that that's okay and that won't be treated seriously. I have a pretty high pain tolerance. I have a pretty, I can be a doormat for a while, but threats of harm and death to self or others is something I take very seriously. I do not fuck around when it comes to that. If somebody tells me that they are thinking of hurting themselves or have a plan to hurt themselves, I would, first of all, there's so many things. I would assess the situation. I would ask them questions. Do you have intent? Do you have a plan? What is your timeline, kind of thing? Like, what's going on? What are you thinking, feeling? That kind of thing. Maybe are you under the influence of substances? Could be an interesting question. Do you have a prior history? So for me, right, I have lived with chronic suicidality. I've been in the hospital system a lot. I know these are the questions I get asked by professionals. I'm not a mental health professional. I'm just somebody with lived experience who knows a lot about this, who has been through suicide attempts and suicidality and planning and frequent hospitalizations, and a lot of time spent planning and fantasizing and thinking and glorifying suicide and death and harm and all these things. So as someone who has been in our own voice presenter in my own story, as someone who's been interviewed countless times by various mental health professionals, someone who's been in the ER laughing about having a plan to kill themselves, someone who has been joking frequently about suicide, the more suicidal I got, which right now I'm safe, by the way. I'm okay. I'm not going to act on anything. We're okay on that end. But as someone with those experiences, as someone who is a mental health advocate, as someone who treats this seriously and shouldn't be joked about as like a, oh, haha, like I was just kidding kind of thing. No, like there are repercussions for your actions, and you put it on the internet, it's going to be there for a while. And I know, again, like even with my own stuff, like I have put things online that I shouldn't have, and that sucks. But you can't just, you can say these things. You can say, mentioning a truck and running somebody over if you saw them. You can say that, but there are going to be consequences for those actions. And of course, homicidality along with suicidality runs as like a spectrum. So there's minor and there's severe. The more, like this kind of statement is what I would think. I would still report it, but I would think it would be more minor. If somebody is saying like, hey, I'm going to run you over with my 2006 Chrysler, and I'm going to be able to wipe the blood off with all this stuff, or, all of these things, I'd get more concerned. At the same time, what also kind of alarmed me about this situation, and this was just the comment that he had mentioned in his TikTok, so I think there might have been more to it, I'm not sure, but what she had mentioned in her video was that he had also doxed her with her full name. So, as how she described it, I was very concerned, because there's like thinking about looking up someone, and then there's actually Googling someone or finding out information about them, or, okay, so he's showing some action towards it. He's showing, like, I'm gonna look up this information, I'm going to do this. Like, that took time, that took effort, that took conscious choice, and that's a lot different than just having the thought, oh, hey, I might want to, like, check out who Shannon is or something. He definitely, like, found her name, and if she hadn't released that, that's not okay. And him having acted on that is concerning. And again, like, making these kinds of statements is concerning. And if I was in this position, and I hope that I won't be, because I don't know, I thought I knew him, apparently I didn't, and I'm afraid that either this is going to get a lot of attention, I don't think it will, but it could get a lot of attention, or it could attract things that I don't want, and everything, but at the same time, my moral compass is saying that I need to speak out about this as well. And I need to be like, hey, I do not agree with the things that Eric has said. I do not agree with the things that he has done towards minors, towards vulnerable people. I heard and uncovered a few things last year about his potential involvement in some things. Some just like suicide, passing kind of thing. This is a hard video. I don't support him. I have not been subscribed to him for a while. He's still been making videos, and he's still apparently on TikTok and all of these things, which is problematic in its own right. If I were Shannon, if I were Creepshow Art, I would probably report it in some manner, flag it if I can, the comment or video or whatever it was, and, you know, make a report. I know it's, you know, the hard thing with this is, like, let's pretend I'm in a room with 25 people, and 24 of those people are making remarks or statements or jokes about killing themselves, and 24 of those people don't mean it, and they're just saying it to say it, because whether they want to get revenge, or they want me to stay in the relationship, or they want me to give them attention, or who knows what. Then we have the 25th person in the room who is saying, hey, you know, I'm thinking about killing myself, or I should just kill myself, or I'm so incompetent, I can't handle life, like, oh, shit, sorry, the whole table that I have you on, just box that I have you on, sorry, okay, but you get the idea. So this person could be saying these things, and they're saying, you know, I don't deserve to live, I'm a waste of space, I'm nothing, nobody cares about me, no one would notice if I died, I might as well just end my life, those kinds of things. I do not want it to be that I heard or saw or knew that these 25 people were saying these things. And even if 24 of them didn't mean it, I don't want to be in that situation where the 24th person did mean it. And then they planned it, and they acted on it, and they killed themselves. Which is why I take it very seriously, threats of harm or death to self or others. And I do this because that 25th person probably would have been me. And, you know, from 2014 to 2018, I was always very vocal. I was always very open about it. It was only in 2018 that I stopped being as honest as I needed to be. And luckily, I've been hospital free for about 3 years now, and I don't act on thoughts of harm or death for myself. And I've never had thoughts of harm or death for other people. As a mental health advocate, especially as someone with a mental health condition, I would not act on thoughts to hurt other people, because there is already such a stigma that we are dangerous people, even though we're not, and that we're more likely to be victims of crime than perpetrators, and that we're losing so many people by suicide every day. And we have so many souls that are being lost to a pain so great that they think they can't survive living with anymore. And that they think maybe in their last moments, you know, maybe they chose the right path, or they acted on the final thought. And I can only imagine how many people who, like me, would have been ambivalent till the end and would have thought, oh shit, I actually want to live, and then not make it. And for me, I'll just end really quickly with, I used to think about how some people made it through their suicide ideation, and some people got better, and things got better, and everything was great, and that is very true for a lot of people. And at the same time, I also recognized that not everybody makes it out alive, and not everybody lives through their darkest days, and some people die. And I had to figure out, am I going to be someone who makes it, or am I going to be someone who dies? And it's not that easy. Suicide is very complex. There's so many reasons and things for why someone may take their own lives. There's so much behind it. But if it's those 25 people and there's that one person who really does mean it, who really isn't joking, who really is serious about it, I want to put everything into my power to protect them from themselves. And because I know, as someone who was protected from themselves and lives such a happy life now and is so much better, and I have so many dreams and things I want to accomplish and videos to make and calls to action that apparently come together at some point, like, that life is important, and that person is worth the world, unless they've committed some sort of heinous act, which, I'm sure some people do. But overall, that person who's a good person, who is kind and compassionate and has empathy for people, who cares about people, who loves people, and who wants the best for people, the people with the biggest smile on their faces, sometimes those are the people who are struggling the most. And it matters when those lives get extinguished. And someone or something should be changed by it. I don't know if I'm making any sense, but it's been a long time. And I hope that she knows, and I hope that there are other people in the comments who have either had an experience with him or know of Shannon and her work and enjoy her channel and stuff and support her through this. I'm sure there's going to be people who don't, who still support him for some strange reason, but I hope that she gets all the support that she needs, and that I did actually reach out to her. I don't know if she'll see it or not, but I did reach out to her, and I kind of talked about how I was thinking about making this video, and I was like, hey, do you have any advice, kind of thing. And I don't know if she'll ever see it or not, and that's fine, it's whatever. But I did reach out, and I thought about it for a few hours, this video, and I was like, do I say something? Do I not? But I had experience with him. I had texted him a few times, and he had always been supportive. He'd always been fine. Like, conversation never really went anywhere. I had actually done a collab with him I have outtakes of it on my channel, and it's also still on his channel, I believe. Our collab. It was about, like, not always liking someone, something like that. So there was that, but I had seen, like, videos people had made the last time, like, back in October last year or so, and I found out, like, October, September last year, all this shit happened, but I just hadn't checked out his channel in, like, a year, because he was making a lot of, like, substance use-based videos, and I just didn't agree with it, and I didn't like that. So I just, like, never just stopped watching him and stuff, and he just became something that he didn't seem like he was at first, but who knows, maybe he always was the whole time. I don't know for sure. But yeah, my point is, as a mental health advocate myself, I would never say those things to another person, no matter how much they wronged me, or I feel that they wronged me, even though in his case he was already being shady. But I would never, I just wouldn't make a threat like that and not think about the ramifications of it and the consequences. Like, I wouldn't make a threat to other people's lives, and I would probably make a threat to myself, to be honest, but have already. But I'm safe right now. But I wouldn't say something like that, knowing that can be spun in a way to see, another mental health advocate is crazy, or they're gonna kill people, or they're a danger to society, or, whatever. Like, they're dangerous, and like we have to be locked up and on space suits or something. I don't know. I don't think I'm very tiny channel, so I don't think anybody will see this unless I put him in the title or the thumbnail, which is mildly terrifying. So I just thought that this was too important to not say something about, and it definitely crossed that big boundary I have where, statements of, harm or death to self or others is very important and needs to be taken seriously, because if it's not, that one time it's not, and something bad happens, it's just a shit show. So that's kind of where I'm at, and I don't know when I'm going to get this video up. I don't know how it's going to be received. I have no idea. I've gotten very comfortable in the fact that, my channel is so unknown that it feels like I'm talking to the void, is what I call it. Especially on my blog, I call it that. And on Twitter, I call it the void. So it seems like I'm kind of like talking to a wall, and there's only an echo of my own words coming back, and there's not really many or as much people there. And I've always wanted, especially with my YouTube channel, I've always wanted, and I think especially because of the pandemic, I have been wanting somebody to notice. I guess in a way, the thing that I always struggled with, the ambivalence, when I was actively suicidal and stuff, was I wanted someone to notice that I was in pain and that somebody was there and I wasn't alone. And I guess that's kind of translated into a different way, in a more healthy way, in a more stable fashion, to online kind of stuff. And even, I have people who support me and stuff in real life, but sometimes with the pandemic and everything, it's just a little bit harder and not as frequent, I guess, as it maybe used to be at one point. And so it's just a little tougher. So I guess I'm looking online for people who can not only pat my ass if I want it, but also be critical and be constructive about it. And I know YouTube isn't really exactly the place for that, or at least small channels don't tend to get as much of that anymore. And, putting myself out there is kind of scary, and I don't know how it's going to be received. I don't know if I'm going to get a lot of hate, or even if it's going to be hate, or I might just get silence, which is what I'm used to by now. But this was important to me, and I thought I had to say something, and I had to show my support for Creepshow art, and my support for anybody in the community that was affected negatively by Eric B. Zink, anyone who was dissuaded from contacting services like the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline that is built there with volunteers and staff to help. You are having thoughts of suicide or thoughts of hurting other people, please, please, please reach out to help. You can contact the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline. There are crisis teams that you can contact. There is the NAMI helpline if you're in the US. There are national, state, international websites, information, all of that. If it is a psychiatric emergency, if somebody is saying that they have a plan, they have intent, they are going to act on it like today or tomorrow, it's like a very immediate crisis, call your nation's, your country's emergency line, like 911 in America and stuff like that. Call 911, bring them to a hospital, bring them to the ER, get them evaluated, make sure that they are not alone, do not leave them alone, ask them questions, keep them engaged as much as you can, be calm about it, try to just be there and support them in any way that you can, however that is, and make sure you get help for yourself as well, because that is also very, very important. If you are caring for someone who is suicidal or is self-destructive, it is important that you get help and support so that you can be okay, because that is a lot to take on. So that's all I want to say, and yeah, I hope that this video has been something, and hopefully it's an okay something, and I'm gonna stop talking because this is gonna be like 45 minutes long. So aftercare plan for myself. So yes, this is probably gonna go into the video itself, but I will just do my tagline just in case. So as always, stay safe, take care, be well, much love and light to you, and I will see you when I see you. Bye.
I can see a lighthouse through the smoke. Everything is lost, I know. Underneath the roaring of the storm, I can hear the breaking of the dawn.